Hi guys, welcome to Hairdressing Live. My name is Beatrice and I'm going to be taking you through a technique called Basinage. So with this masterclass today, I'm going to very much invite you to kind of have a bit of fun with me, and if you have any questions or anything throughout this technique, please feel free to, if you go to the right hand of your screen, press the drop down box, there is some instructions there on how to get involved. So with the Basinage technique, where did it come from? Well, it's like an evolvement from the classic balayage technique. So I found that with the balayage technique, a lot of the time I'm asked for more softness. And I think with the kind of standard balayage technique, we're still working that kind of two tones of dark going into light. So with the Basinage, it allows us a bit more fluidity, so we can create that lovely seamless, non-banded balayage technique that seems to be much more popular at the moment. You might say it's a bit more kind of beachy looking or a bit surfery looking. So if you want to join me, I'm going to start the technique now. So as you can see, first of all, on my model, Nicole, we've already done a little bit of preparation. So what I've done is I've already coloured her hair as a global colouring. I've worked with Alpha Power Colour, and the colour that I've worked with was a 504. So it gives us a lovely kind of deep, earthy copper colour. We're working on wet hair, so we allow the colour to develop, shampoo it, and then we're good to go to start with our Basinage. So I'm going to start off the technique and have a little chat with you as we work through the technique. So, first of all, we just relax Nicole's head into the basin so she's comfortable. It's a quick technique, so we're going to work together with this now. So as I said, working on wet hair. Why wet hair? Well, the fluidity. When you're working on wet hair, it allows that lovely seamless blend. Dry hair, sometimes, if it's porous, it can kind of grab the colour a little bit or grab the pre-liner a little bit. So, working quite random sections. So there's nothing uniform about this. One of the questions that sometimes comes up when I'm teaching a balayage class is lines. How do you eliminate lines? And my answer is if you work with lines, you're going to achieve lines. So when I'm taking the sectioning, this is a good way of remembering things. I work with a hook finger, okay? So keep your finger hooked and just hook out pieces of hair as opposed to getting a comb and taking sections. So I'm just going to hook out a piece of hair so it's quite rounded, the sectioning. Take my panel. It is important to comb it through because again, we want to create a lovely fluidity. Okay, so holding the hair about 2/3 of the way down. I'm working with some pre-lightener, okay, and I'm going to apply that pre-lightener just there, just a small section in the middle there, making sure you really surround that hair. Now this is where the magic happens. So get your fingers, and it's kind of like a scissor finger. So holding these two fingers, you may have seen balayage done a lot like this. Again, if you finish like that, you're creating a line. So we have scissor fingers, and we work like that. Okay, so I'll turn this so you can see. So working up like that. So none of this, it's all this scissor finger. Pushing that pre-lightener up towards the base of the hair. How do you know when you've got it far enough up? The pre-lightener vanishes. Okay, so you can see there. And then once that pre-lightener vanishes up towards the root of the hair, you reapply for the ends and just really emulsify that through. Once you've got that on, just lay the hair over your basin. Done. So that's it, that bit's ready. So we'll take our next piece of hair. We've just got a towel there just to keep wiping any pre-lightener off my hands. Again, remember that hook section. Take this out of the way here. I'm going to work the back area first, again, just to have some sort of uniformity to my development. So finger goes in, take out the hair, and again, working through. Okay, so continue in the same manner. Hold the hair out. Apply my pre-lightener about 1/3 away from the root area. And all you're doing here is just kind of layering it up so you're getting the amount of product that you need to be able to seamlessly melt up towards the root of the hair. Remember the scissor fingers, so there's no lines. It's all this kind of scissor finger. Very gently just pushing that colour Pre-lightener up towards the root of the hair, or up towards the scalp, I should say. Again, keeping that nice, soft motion. Again, when you're happy, that pre-lightener has disappeared up towards the root of the hair, then you just reapply for the mid-lengths and ends. And again, for the mid-lengths and ends, it's just really about working that product through and there. Basin's great because the basin just allows you to a good foundation for the hair to sit. One of the questions that sometimes comes up, this technique, is from a course that I teach called Seamless Colouring. So Seamless Colouring is a course that I put together for myself, for the Alpha Power Academy by myself. And it's really to kind of work with softness. And this technique comes from that course. One of the questions that gets asked a lot with this technique is, what if I need the basin? So if you need the basin area, what I normally recommend is that if you put a black plastic cap and lay it inside the basin, then if at any point you do need to move that client, you can just pick the plastic cape up, and bring it over to your unit. And that just means that everything's going to work fine for you. There's no drama, should we say? Although I know sometimes there can be a bit of drama in the salons. Okay, so again, taking out that ununiformed section and working on the opposite side. Again, apply about a third of the way down. Plenty of product. Because remember, you've got to use what you've got there, push it up towards the root. For any of you hairdressers out there working on wet hair, I don't know, some people are a little bit worried about colouring on wet hair, particularly working with pre-lightener. One thing that I would say is that, you know, if we were doing any kind of cleansing, gentle cleansing, you'd be working on wet hair. So you're doing a cleanse, really. That's all it is, but we've turned it into a balayage technique or a basinage. Obviously, the reason I call it basinage is simple. It's in front of you. Everything's done at the basin area. And again, taking all the sections out and keeping it very ununiformed within the application. We don't want lines, so I'm going to work that softness. Okay, so again with our application. So where did I get the inspiration for this technique? Well, I could lie and say I made it up, but I actually went on a course myself with Sophia Hilton over in London, and this is one of the techniques, similar to one of the techniques that we were shown there. And it was a little bit like a light bulb moment for me, because I kind of thought, oh my God, so many people are looking for different ways of doing this, and this is so simple to portray from an educational point of view. It's not overcomplicated, so people can take it back into the salon. If you overcomplicate something, you know, it can all look really good, and then nobody will ever do it because it's too much to do in the salon. Again, if you take 3 hours doing this technique, you've got to look at the charge for it as well. So this is not going to be one of those techniques. So working through the underneath there, I'm just going to separate this up here. Now, once we've done this and once it's developed, we're going to work with some lovely on-trend toners. As I was speaking to Paul previous to this masterclass, you know, looking at on-trend colours, I was watching the fashion shows there, your London Fashion Week and so on, and you know, when I'm watching those things, I never ever look at the hair, okay, which might seem quite strange from a hairdresser's point of view, but I never look at the hair, because as a colour technician, I find with a lot of these fashion shows, the models themselves have very little done to the hair. You know, it's a lot of kind of upstyling or beautiful blow drying, but colour work is not really seen unless it's wefts and pieces put in. So what I do look at is the clothes, not necessarily the style of the clothes, but the colour, because that's very much portrayed in up and coming trends. And what I did notice within the colours of a lot of the fashion houses that I watched, metallics is still very, very big, but that kind of icy grey It's taken a bit of a back seat, which I'm sure some of my fellow colourists out there will be delighted to hear. It's such a difficult colour to achieve. To achieve that kind of icy greys and so on, we have to work a lot with what we call double toning. Preparation work, double toning, we need to get that palette clean before we can make that grey. So I did see a lot of that has disappeared. We're still greys, but warm greys, or the contrast of warm and cool together, which is brilliant.